I had been back in my hometown for less than 5 minutes when 4 guns were aimed straight at my chest, red and blue lights washing over my grandmother's house like a crime scene. Police sirens, screaming engines, idling neighbors frozen behind their curtains. And on the greenest lawn on the block, a woman pointing at me and yelling that I was an intruder. That was my welcome home. I'd pulled onto Maplewood Lane slow, almost careful, like I didn't want to spook the memories. Same narrow street, same tired oak tree leaning too far over the sidewalk, same blue house with shutters faded by decades of sun. I turned off the engine and sat there, hands still on the wheel, letting it sink in. This was where my grandmother raised me. This was where I learned how to ride a bike, how to read, how to keep my mouth shut when someone bigger tried to bully you. And now it was mine. I hadn't even opened the door when the sirens hit. 2 cruisers tore down the street like I was armed and dangerous. Doors flew open, officers shouting commands before I could process what was happening. Hands up. Step away from the vehicle. Slowly. I did exactly that. No sudden moves. Calm voice, empty hands. Then I heard her voice cut through everything. "That's him," she screamed. "That's the man I told you about. He just showed up and parked like he owns the place." I turned and saw her standing there. Arms crossed, lips tight, hair perfectly styled, like she was ready for a photo op. Carolyn Ashford, president of the Homeowners Association. She looked at me like I was trash someone forgot to take out. The officers checked my ID, then my keys, then the inheritance paperwork. One of them handed everything back and nodded. "Sir, you're the legal owner of the property." Carolyn's jaw tightened. "Well, that may be," she said, stepping closer, "but this is a community with rules." She studied my face again, eyes narrowing. "Wait, you're Edna Donovan's grandson, aren't you?" I nodded. She laughed, not warm, not amused, just sharp. "Figures. Your grandmother never understood how things work around here either." She reached into her designer bag and pulled out a thick folder, pressing it into my chest. Unpaid HOA fees. Multiple violations. Lawn height. Exterior paint. 10 months overdue. You have 14 days to pay, or we begin foreclosure proceedings. She smiled like she'd done me a favor. Inside the house, the air felt heavy. The furniture hadn't moved. My grandmother's reading chair sat by the window like she'd just stepped out for tea. I set the folder on the kitchen table and flipped through it. Every notice looked official. Every threat was worded just carefully enough to scare someone who didn't know better. That first night I didn't unpack. I didn't eat. I just sat there listening to the house settle and wondering how long this had been happening. The next morning, 2 new violation notices were taped to my door. Trash can violation, I hadn't put one out. Parking violation, my car never left the garage. Same signature, same pin, same authority. By the 3rd day, neighbors stopped waving. By the 4th, they crossed the street when they saw me. That's when Harriet knocked. She stood there, holding a casserole dish, like a peace offering, eyes tired but kind. "I lived next to your grandmother for 20 years, she said softly. "I thought you should know what you're walking into." We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where my grandmother used to count pills and pay bills. "She fined Edna every month," Harriet said. "200 here, 300 there. Your grandmother lived on Social Security." My hands clenched under the table. "She tried to fight," Harriet continued. "Wrote letters, made calls, even wrote to Washington. She believed someone would help." After Harriet left, I opened my laptop. Buried deep in a federal inbox was a flagged complaint, filed 5 months earlier, from Edna Donovan. My grandmother had documented everything. Dates, amounts, threats. She never knew that letter landed on my desk. That night, Mitchell Ashford showed up. Carolyn's son, late 20s, built like intimidation was his hobby. He didn't knock. He walked onto my lawn like it was his birthright. "So you're the guy stirring things up," he said. "My mom says you're getting ideas." I didn't argue. I let him talk. "This neighborhood has standards," he said. "You don't follow them, things happen. Same thing happened to your grandmother." He smiled when he said it like he was proud. Over the next week it escalated. More notices, bigger fines, posts online calling me suspicious, unstable, dangerous. One night, sitting alone in that house, staring at my grandmother's photo, I felt it, not doubt, not fear, just exhaustion. The kind that makes you think about leaving just to make it stop. Selling the house. Letting them win. Then I remembered her letter. She didn't quit, Not at 92. Not with shaking hands. So neither did I. I checked the records. Maplewood Estates HOA had never been registered. Not with the state. Not federally. 37 years of illegal fees. 37 years of threats built on nothing. I sent a certified document request. 30-day deadline. Carolyn signed for it herself. Day 7 came faster than I expected. I was already awake when the cameras showed them gathering. Carolyn, Mitchell, 2 loyal neighbors, a hired security guard. They marched up my driveway like they owned the ground beneath their feet. "You have 15 minutes to vacate," Carolyn announced. "No court order," I asked. She waved a binder. HOA authority. Mitchell shoved me. The guard grabbed my arms. They started throwing my belongings onto the lawn. Then Carolyn grabbed my laptop. The sticker peeled back. Federal seal exposed. Her face drained of color. I pulled out my phone. "Assault? Unlawful eviction. Theft of federal property," I said calmly. "I need a team." 80 minutes later, black SUVs rolled onto Maplewood Lane. Mitchell went into cuffs first, then Carolyn. Agents carried boxes out of her house ledgers, cash, handwritten notes. I signed one final document: immediate dissolution of the Homeowners Association. No speeches, no victory lap. Carolyn sat on her porch, staring at nothing, finally powerless. One signature ended 37 years of abuse. And the lesson was simple. Power survives only when no one dares to question it. The story didn't end the moment those SUVs showed up. It only stopped being quiet. As the agents moved through Carolyn's house, the street filled with people who hadn't spoken to me in days. Porch doors opened. Garage doors lifted halfway and froze. The same neighbors who crossed the street to avoid me were now standing 10 feet away, pretending they were just curious. Carolyn kept repeating the same sentence over and over. "This is a misunderstanding," not yelling anymore, not commanding, just saying it like if she said it enough times it would turn true. One agent asked her a simple question: where were the HOA registration documents? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes flicked toward her front door like the answer might magically appear inside. It didn't. They carried out boxes instead. Old binders, handwritten ledgers, envelopes stuffed with cash, years of fees neatly recorded in her handwriting. Someone behind me whispered, "That can't be real." It was. Every page of it. Mitchell was pacing near the curb, hands cuffed behind his back, face red with anger and disbelief. He kept looking at his mother, waiting for her to say something that would fix this. She never did. An agent finally turned to me and asked, "Sir, would you like to file a formal statement?" I looked at my grandmother's front door. The chipped paint. The dent near the handle from years ago when someone slammed it during an argument about lawn decor. Yes, I said, I would. Inside the house, I walked them through everything. The notices, the threats, the false fines, the way the language was written to scare people without ever quite crossing the line. How every document carried the same signature, the same handwriting. One agent held 2 notices side by side and nodded. "No board," he said quietly, "just her." While they worked, a woman I didn't recognize stepped closer to me on the lawn. "I'm sorry," she said barely above a whisper. I thought you were the problem." I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing left to say. When the lead agent told Carolyn she was being detained for questioning, her knees buckled, not dramatically, just enough to show she wasn't built for a world where she wasn't in charge. They sat her on the porch steps. The same steps she'd stood on for decades, handing out warnings like favors. I went inside one last time before they left. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out the document I'd prepared days earlier. I'd hoped I wouldn't need it. I'd known I would. The order was clean, precise. No emotion, no commentary, just facts. Operating without registration. Illegal fee collection. Systematic intimidation. I signed it once. When I walked back outside, the sun had shifted. Long shadows stretched across Maplewood Lane. An agent took the paper from my hand and read it carefully, then nodded. "It's done," she said. Carolyn looked up when she heard that word. "Done?" she asked. "What's done?" The agent didn't raise her voice. "Your homeowners association no longer exists." Carolyn stared at her unblinking. "You can't do that," she said automatically. "It's already done," the agent replied. For the first time since I arrived, no one spoke. No arguments, no threats, no authority left to lean on. As the vehicles pulled away, the crowd slowly thinned. People didn't know what to do without someone telling them. Harriet stood next to me for a moment. She would have been proud, she said. I nodded once. That night I slept in the same bedroom I grew up in. No sirens, no notices taped to the door. Just quiet. And the truth power doesn't disappear when it's challenged. It collapses when it's exposed.